as the long-term considerations, for example, reducing debt, but also pursuing the development goals.
Okay. World attention is on Washington, D.C., where policymakers have converged for the 2022 spring meetings. And of course, it is hybrid, fiscal, and virtual. In the words of the World Bank's president, David Malpass, we are facing COVID-19, inflation, and the war in Ukraine. On our growth outlooks, we've lowered our forecast for global economic growth, and I saw the IMF also downgraded their outlook. China's COVID-19 related shutdown is part of that and may weigh on the world economy in 2022. Above all, the war and its consequences are putting stress on poor people around the world. That is the end of that quote. Today on Business Express, we will talk more on issues around the predictions, cautions, and suggested actions that will shape world development in the coming days. And our guest is Dr. Chijioke Ikechukwu. He is an economist. Thank you, as always, for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
And I say happy Easter in arrears.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great, Doctor. So the IMF actually gave a forecast of 3.8% growth for developing economies, and of course a 1% downgrade that is from previous forecast. Nigeria is somewhere in between there. Of course, what is your assessment of that?
Yeah, the IMF looked at, especially Nigeria's case, knowing that there are issues around our growth trajectory. In fact, we have been upgraded from where we used to be, where the outlook they gave us up of 2.7% to 3.4 right now. The reason for this outlook projection was the fact that they have seen that we are growing more around the non-oil sector and non-oil exports. And of course, you know that Nigeria's non-oil sector is growing so well right now. And they have also seen the price of oil, which actually has improved, and which is obviously one of our major stay. So having looked at these two indicators, our projection has been increased. Of course, that of developing economies has also been downgraded, but of course, given up to 3.8, like you said. The reason for this is the fact that they're also watching the level of inflation that is going on as a result of supply chain distortions arising from the war going on in Ukraine and Russia. And so having looked at all this, the projection looks like what we have to believe in, and that is the position.
All right. So we're looking at rising inflation figures across the world. Nigeria, again, is not excluded from that. The IMF is urging tightening of monetary policies. Will that tightening work in Nigeria?
Inflation rate of all countries of the world actually increased. We all know the reason. Again, back to what is going on in Russia and Ukraine. The food supply chain has dropped seriously, and you know that Russia and Ukraine are the largest exporters of wheat all over the world, and that has affected a whole lot of production inputs and also affected the pricing. In our own case, of course, the price of petroleum products, world price of petroleum products increased, and we are facing it. Every country is facing it right now. So having said this, when the CBN had their last MPC meeting, of course they retained all ratios and rates. The reason was the fact that they didn't want to tighten more. But of course, when listening to David Malpass, he also talked about stimulating the economy because there was a major drop in investment in developing economies, and was actually advising CBN governors to try to stimulate the economy using their ways and means. Obviously, even though he didn't call it ways and means, you could see that was actually what he meant. If that was the case, of course, for countries that are suffering right now from inflation, that is the situation in all countries. If you tighten more, what it will do is that funds are not going to spread, and the businesses are also going to be stifled. They're not going to have enough funds to be able to grow. So, advice is just ensure that you stimulate the economy and ensure that the economy is working in all the various countries, especially developing economies.
Okay, so with the food crisis the world is experiencing, is it too late for Nigeria to look inwards, at least do some more investment as we've seen in rice and in maize, on wheat as a commodity now for local consumption first to assuage these concerns?
Whenever there is a shortfall of starting imports, it's always an opportunity, especially local opportunity or in-house opportunity, or what you can call backward integration opportunity, to be able to invest in those things that you consider difficult to receive. It's an opportunity right now because I imagine that our farmers that are into wheat production are going to be having a wonderful field day into their bank accounts. And we need more of that. And I want to believe that even if we double the number of farmers we have today, we may not be able to meet the demand of wheat in Nigeria. And so it is an opportunity both in the short run and in the long run. In the short run right now, it may not be enough if you just start the business right now. It may not be enough for you to produce and start supplying just to meet the local market right now. But in the long run, these shortages will happen again and again. So it is better for us to prepare. We have gotten it right with rice. We can do it with wheat and with other cash crops.
Okay, so the next thorny issue is fuel subsidy. And of course, as at last week, we was witnessing a rise by as much as 4 trillion naira in subsidies for this year being budgeted for. Of all the questions sent to the World Bank yesterday, they chose to answer these from my very good friend Chima about the fuel subsidy. And what the World Bank posits is Nigeria should rethink her subsidy efforts. Primarily, of course, let it be targeted where the actual need is located, and it should be carefully targeted for those that need mostly, be it food, be it fuel. This advice, is it as easy as it comes?
It is not as easy as they have always given us as advice. The World Bank has always advised Nigeria to remove subsidy. The uniqueness of our country is such that subsidy may not just be easily removed because the pressures are there all over the place. Remove subsidy and this will happen. Remove subsidy and the other one will happen. But it is that which has to happen one day. I know that it has been budgeted for now, which has been approved, but you see that such subsidies are not there in many other countries. So they are facing it, and that is why their inflation rate is also rising. But I know that if we remove ours, our numbers are going to increase heavily, especially inflation rate. Every other price is going to increase. And right now, the food price is higher than the consumer price index. What that tells you is that the poverty level is going to, the poverty bracket of the country is wider now. And so it's going to grow wider. If food price can actually drop or be at par with CPI, then we can be sure that, yes, it is going to be manageable. But where it is right now is to tell you we're still going to be experiencing some shortages in the future, and the hunger is going to increase. And so what they were advocating from World Bank is the fact that check what your subsidy is looking like, because the subsidy you're giving right now is also going to be benefited by the top echelon of our economy. And the subsidies should be targeted at the lower level of economy, people who need it, but right now, I don't think it's that which we are going to do. Of course, by the approval of the 4 trillion, by sending it to the Senate, that's an indication that it's not something we're going to look at this year. But it is that which must come, and we just have to prepare for it.
Okay, so what else do you think government should be doing in the short run and in the long run? You've heard what the IMF posits about Nigeria. You've heard what the World Bank posits about Nigeria. And of course, in the coming days to the early part of next week, they will still be making projections and submissions. But then, for now, where do we look at?
All our efforts must be geared towards growing our exports. I heard when the executive director of Export Processing Council,
Promotion
Council, Export Promotion Council was talking about the gap between our import figures and our export figures. The gap is so huge. So we have to do everything to bridge that gap and ensure that even if we are still net importers, let the gap between export and import be narrowed. When we do that, we need to do everything that will bring in investments into Africa, into Nigeria. We need to do everything, and there are so many things we can do to actually bring in investments into Nigeria. Above all, of course, we know where the pressure is, the fact that we are not refining our petroleum product. Once we're able to achieve this in the short run, all these numbers are going to, change. And so all efforts must be made to ensure that our petroleum products are refined in our country. It gives us a whole lot of advantages, and so we don't need to delay that aspect of our economic development.
Okay, before I let you go, let me ask a background question. I just heard if it would be so easy for us to begin to refine locally.
Yes, it is already, the pipeline is already there. The efforts are already there. All we're waiting for is just the completion time, especially, of course, we know what is going on with Dangote refinery and, of course, all the various other smaller refineries. And the effort government is making to make sure that the government refineries all over the country start working again, even if not up to optimum levels, up to a reasonable level. If you combine that with what we're expecting to happen, what are expected to happen from the Dangote refinery, that will actually change whatever thing we are going to do this year and next year.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Dr. Chijoke, for being part of the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
You have a nice day.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So we move to surviving COVID-19. And of course, the story this morning is on a thrift seller whose business survived the pandemic despite initial challenges.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
This is thriftwear, known as OK, fairly used.
So how long have you been in this business?
For now, it's since 2019, yeah. Maybe not, just like 3 years now, about 3 years, yeah. I thank God, Sha. But it has not been easy one, because everything is expensive, very, very expensive. Like that 2019, all my customers, they were coming because they can quickly get it at an affordable price. But right now, it's very, very expensive. As of 2019, you can get this 2,000 highest. But right now, it's 3,035 because of the expenses. When you will transport it, come, and including the fuel problem that is in this country now, is very, very expensive. 3,500. It was not an easy one. It's very, very hard. Very, very hard. Because during that time, you cannot even come out. Everywhere is locked, including this place. Everywhere is locked. And when they kind of relieved the lockdown and people were coming down, but it was not easy one for me because not everybody would like to wear thriftwear. Not everybody. So I'm finding it difficult that time. Even to get money and feed is very, very bad. It's very, very hard for me. So, but I'm thanking God. From that 2020 that COVID started, it was hard then, but right now God is faithful because everything has improved because the lockdown is no more. Yes, I've heard about it. I have applied many times. Even some of my customers helped me to apply for it, but is not working at all. All the effort prove abortive because I have not gotten any. I'll be grateful if the business extend to different places. I'll be grateful.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central.
Quite inspiring there. We move to the equities market in Nigeria, where it closed on a positive note on Wednesday, recording a second day of gains in the week. The NGX All-Share Index inched up by 1.25% to close at 48,138.71 basis points as market capitalization increased to 25.95 trillion naira. Investors exchanged 349.5 million shares valued at 3.69 billion in 4,587 deals. Universal Insurance, Zenith, and Fidelity Banks were the top performers for the day. And the market resumed on that note this morning. On the global scene, stock movements show that Ukraine war remains in focus, and Boss De Abel has that update.
Shares in Asia were mixed in Thursday trade as investors continue to watch China's COVID situation along with moves in the Japanese yen. Chinese stocks led losses regionally, with the Shanghai Composite shedding 2.45% to 3,073.54, while the Japan's Nikkei 225 added 1.23%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index slipped around 1.45%. European stocks opened slightly higher Thursday as investors keep an eye on developments in the war between Russia and Ukraine. The Pan-European Stock 600 index opened 0.1% higher, with debtors in positive territory. U.S. stock futures rose in early morning trading as investors digested more quarterly reports from the likes of Tesla and United Airlines. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average added 113 points, or 0.71%. S&P 500 futures ticked up and Nasdaq 100 futures also gained. Markets in Africa have just opened, but are yet to post numbers after posting a positive outlook on Wednesday. Boss De Abel, Business Express.
The US dollar is hitting record levels since March, while the naira is falling further against the dollar. Let's see the official exchange rates. This is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget you can access all previous episodes on YouTube on the NTS channel. We value your feedback. Do join us again Friday at 3 p.m. for another package. I'm Leah Kating. Baba Tunde saying God bless Nigeria and be safe out there.